This is the Financially Simple Podcast, the show dedicated to destroying the complexities of money for today's small business owner. The content in the show is for informational purposes only. This show is not investment advice. Instead, seek help from a competent financial advisor or conduct your own due diligence. Justin Goodbread, CFP, is an investment advisor representative of Heritage Investors, a registered investment advisor only conducting business in states where it is properly registered or is excluded or exempted from registration requirements. Registration is not an endorsement of the firm by securities regulators and does not mean the advisor has achieved a specific level of skill or ability. Here's your host, pizza-loving, certified financial planner, Justin Goodbread.
And welcome back to the Financially Simple Podcast. Today we're going to continue our deep dive into cash flow as part of our discussion in personal finances for business owners. Now, one thing unique about today's episode is we're trying something new. So many of you like listening to us on audio. You also know we have a YouTube channel. So we are simultaneously recording a video of the podcast for today's YouTube channel. And we're going to see how this goes. If you want to check us out on YouTube, let me know. You can actually see my beautiful face. And the studio here, I'm wearing headphones and my goofy looking glasses. So check it out, youtube.com, Financially Simple. Today's topic, we're going to discuss how, not a why video today, not a why podcast. Today we're dealing with how can I, we're talking about you, how can I build a budget that we actually will keep? One of the biggest complaints I hear, actually complaints is probably not a good word to use in the financial world, but it is a complaint. One of the biggest complaints I hear about the financial world is we talk a lot about why, but very few times do we give specifics on how. And there's nothing more foundational, nothing whatsoever more foundational in your particular finances than your budget. And you're like, Justin, really? You're going to talk about how to build a budget? Yep, that's exactly what we're going to do. I'm going to give you 7 steps to building the perfect budget. Now, look, if you go on the interweb and you Google how to build a perfect budget, you're going to see some generic 1, 2, 3s. And I've been challenged this episode to dive deep, give real life examples, give you scenarios that can help you use firsthand deep knowledge, not superficial knowledge. So today we're going to talk about 7 specific things that are actionable, things that you can actually use inside your budget to help you build the perfect budget. Please, at the end of today's show, let me know. Say, Justin, man, look, that was helpful. Or, Justin, dude, I could have got that in Google in like 3 minutes time. So I'm trying to make these things as deep as possible. I'd love to have your feedback. You can email me at justin@financiallysimple.com. You can connect with me on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. I was sharing that today with somebody that you can actually see me and the goats and the chickens and the kiddos on the farm. I typically put my life on Instagram. Not very many business things, although we did create a Financially Simple Instagram page that we have been asked to do that we're going to try to see how it works. I don't know much about the Instagram world, so if you have any insight, if you know any ways to help us there, please reach out and say, brother, we can help you. So I want to give you 7 real life things you can do to help build a budget that you will actually keep. So here we go. Number 1, start with your goals. What is it that you want to accomplish in life? Well, Justin, I want to get out of college. I just spoke with somebody today about that. Great. That's a goal. Justin, I want to retire. Great. That's a goal. Justin, I want to go to the beach once a year. Great. That's a goal. But I want you to take it deeper than that. There's an acronym that I've used many times. We put it in our books. We put it in our courses because it works. The acronym is SMART, S-M-A-R-T. I want your goals to be SMART. So if you listen to the podcast or any of my videos on YouTube, you've seen me or heard me talk about SMART goals. And this is why so many people cannot build a budget they want to keep, because they're not smart. I'm not talking about intellectually smart. I'm talking about, let's create an acronym out of here. So here we go. SMART. The S stands for specific. Specific. I did have somebody pick on me about the way I said biases. I think that's one of my Southern draws. Specific, I probably am butchering that word. So I want your goals to be specific. What do I mean? You say, Justin, I want to retire. Great. When? Well, I want to retire by age 50. Great. With how much money? With $100,000. Great. Is that before or after tax dollars? Let's make that after tax. Great. We're going to retire now at age 50 with after tax dollars of $100,000 a year. Perfect. That is a SMART goal. It's specific. In order for it to be specific, it has to be measurable. We now have a measurable goal. I want to retire at age 50. We have a measurement there. If we're 40 right now, we have 10 years. We can look out and see if it's SMA, attainable. Okay, so if I want to retire at age 50 with $100,000 in after-tax income and I currently only have $0 in the bank, it may not be attainable. That very well may not be attainable. Is it possible for me to grow from zero to maybe $3 million for after-tax income of $100,000 in the next 10 years? That may not be attainable, so it may not be a smart goal. So the goal has to be specific, it has to be measurable, and it has to be attainable. I didn't say it had to be easy. I said it had to be attainable. It has to be realistic. If you look back through history, anything that has been achieved, that has been monumental, has always been attainable. It wasn't easy. I was reading something this last weekend about the race to the moon. And that was in the time period before I was born. And just to read the challenge, the goal out there that the countries put forth to their scientists in this race to the moon, it was specific, it was measurable, and many times it seemed unattainable. Just because something is hard doesn't mean it's not a smart goal. So we want to have something that's attainable, and we want it to be relevant. That's the R, the relevant portion. So how does my retirement at age 50 fit into my goals? Well, because it is relevant to what I'm doing today. It's relevant for what I'm going to accomplish in my lifetime. So it is specific because we want to reach it by a certain age. It's measurable. We know the dollar amount. It's attainable. We can look and see, well, if I need to grow at double the revenue in 10 years, that may be attainable. It's relevant, and it is time bound. We have a specific designation point on there. So you've got to set your goals, and they have to be smart. They have to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. Those have to be in place. You say, well, Justin, I want to get out of debt. Great. Let's be specific. I want to pay off $65,000 in debt, specific, in this order over the next 3 years with this much surplus in my income. That is a smart goal. See, if you go this way, when you make your goal smart, then you have something that you can track. You have something you can track as you're going through your budget. Justin, I want to spend $1,000 a month on travel or whatever that number is. Great. You can make that specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. That if you set your goals in a smart fashion, you're more likely to hit those goals. So you start with your goals. Not only should they be smart, but you've got to write them down. You've got to write them down. So write your goals down. If you start with that, then your budget is possible. The next thing we're going to work on is we're going to set our income. Now, in the last 2 or 3 episodes, we talked about why if you pay yourself too much money from the business, it could be contrary to what you're trying to achieve. The tax man could come into play. So you want to set your income. If you haven't listened to episode number 146, 145, and 144, go ahead and pause it right now. Go back and listen to those and then come back here because this isn't going to make sense to you. You say, well, Justin, shouldn't I have as much money as possible? Go back and listen to those episodes. We want to set our income. That's number 2. We want to control the amount of money that we have coming to us. We don't want to be reactionary to the amount of money that we're bringing into our families. So that's number 2. First, set your goals, and they got to be smart. They got to be written down. Number 2, you got to set your income. Number 3, we need to have a calculation on what our total monthly expenses should be. What our total monthly expenses should be. Not what they are, what they should be. So you have to first start off with what are they? Well, Justin, we're wasting a lot of money. I was talking with a client here in the office not too long ago, and they were spending about $700 a month in various entertainments, vacation, travels. I was like, that's not too bad. Yeah, it's not too bad, except they're going in the hole on credit. You're spending the $700 a month on credit cards, plus some, because they're spending all their surplus, all their money in these travel expenses. So we first have to know where our current expenses are, and then we have to create a budget, number 4, of where we want to be. So if we know where our goals are, now we can quantify it. We know that if we want to retire, if we want to pay off debt, or if we want to travel, whatever your goals are, want to buy a new truck, you want to go out and buy a new piano. I'd like to buy a new piano here soon. We just sold a family car and we got a little cash from it, and I want to buy a grand piano. My wife and I both play. One of our children plays, and I'd love to have maybe a Yamaha Kawai or Steinway in the house. We have a piano room that I'd love to put it in there and just be able to come home from work on a long, stressful day and play the piano. That's a goal, but I can put that in my budget. You see, just because I have a want doesn't mean I shouldn't address that want, but I can make that number 4. I can put that as my part of my budget. So number 1, we start with our goals. Number 2, we set our income. Number 3, we know what our current expenses are. Number 4, we create the budget. We talked about that in the last few episodes about what our allocations should be. So again, go back and listen to those.
You're listening to the Financially Simple Podcast. Show your support by subscribing to this and our other educational business channels at financiallysimple.com.
Number 5 is where it gets fun. And that is, once you create your budget, revisit your goals and see if your goals are realistic. So let's say that we go back to our example. You want to retire at age 50 with $100,000 in after-tax income. You're currently age 40. You have zero money. Okay, well, they're not realistic. We already established that. What happens if you had $2 million in various assets? And now your goal was to target to 3.2 million. So you have a nice spin down and over the next 10 years. Well, we know that we should be able to double our money in the next 10 years, according to the rule of what's called 72. But are we realistic in how we're budgeting our dollars? And what I mean by that is this. So many times we get so ambitious about our goals that we forget to live life now. Yeah, Justin, no, I've been living life now, which is why I'm in trouble. I get that. Some of us are not in debt trouble. Some of us are just living life. We're saving the right amount of monies. Some of us are in financial trouble. We're having to reposition things. Look at your goals now and see if they're realistic. Are you going to put your life in so much of a strain that you're just going to give up? Equate it to diet and exercise. If you know that you want to drop 20 pounds in a week, probably not going to happen. But if you want to drop 20 pounds in 4 months, maybe that could happen. That's more of a realistic goal. So now after you created your budget, you've tracked your expenses, you've created your budget. Now I want you to look at your goals and see if they're realistic. That's the 5th thing you've got to do. Number 6, we're going to monitor our progress. Now, one of the things I recommend for married couples is you set up a budget date. What? So, money can be very contentious in marriage relationships. In fact, the fighting of money or money itself leads to more divorces than many other things out there, just money in general. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to revisit your goals. I want you to revisit your budget. I want you to revisit and monitor everything from point 1 through point 5. I want you to revisit your SMART goals. I want you to set your income. I want you to track your monthly expenses. I want you to revisit your goals. And now I want you to have a monitor and review date. This is where you and your significant other or spouse are going to meet before lunchtime, not after lunchtime. I want you to meet before lunchtime once a month and see how you're doing. You're going to pull in your statements, a software, whatever, and you're going to track and see how you're doing. The reason why I say before lunchtime is oftentimes money can be contentious. I remember a time whenever Emily and I began our budget dates. Ooh, this was fun. I looked at her and I said, how in the world do you spend $300 in $20 increments at clothes stores? And she smiled, as my lovely wife has a tendency of doing. And she goes, how in the world did you spend $300 in bullets at one time at one store? Yeah, I'll never forget that. The reason why I want you to have the monitor review date before lunchtime is because you don't want to go to bed. You don't want to enter into the time of the day when you're trying to unwind thinking about money. It doesn't do us any good. In fact, it'll keep us up at night and create unnecessary anxiety. So have your breakfast date, your lunch date, sometime during the week where you just look at the budget and you see how you're doing. And you and your partner, or you and your significant other, or you and your life person, your life coach, if you're single, whoever you're going to use to have an accountability there, you're going to monitor and review that. And you're going to do it before lunchtime. You say, well, Justin, how do we track it? How do we monitor it? We use software in our office that all of our clients have access to, but perhaps you're not a client of our company and you can use a software like a Mint or a Every Dollar or something of that nature. There's lots of software out there, budgeting softwares that can track where every dollar you spend goes. That'll give you a chance as a spouse, as a couple, as a single person with your accountability partner to go and make sure that your dollars are going in the right place. Remember, we want to find every single dollar, every single penny, a home in your life. I was reading something here recently, the idea of eliminating the penny. I don't know why people would do that, but I kind of like the little bronze piece, or they're not really bronze anymore. I like seeing the penny. But you want to know where every penny goes. And if you pick up a penny on the sidewalk, you want to know where that's going to go. Maybe it's in the penny jar, wherever it is. You want to monitor it nonetheless. That's number 6. And then number 7, I want you to adjust your budget to perfection. Adjust it to perfection. What I mean by that is you want to constantly measure your goals and then make sure you can account that every dollar you have coming into your life is reaching your SMART goals. If you can do those things that I'm laying out, you have now created a budget that you can actually keep. You don't have to have the budget become a curse word in your life. It doesn't have to be restrictive. It can be the most liberating thing for you. You say, well, Justin, man, this is frustrating. I don't know how to do this. Follow those simple steps. Sit down first and write out your goals. Be specific, measure, attainable. They got to be attainable. They got to be relevant to you. They've got to be time bound. Then you're going to set your income. How much money are you making? How much money do you need to make? What are your current expenses? And then create a budget that adjusts those current expenses to where you want to be. And then revisit those goals. Hey, are my goals realistic to my budget? And then I want you to monitor it. Get a life partner, get your significant other, get a life coach if you're single, get somebody that can hold you accountable to your goals. And then after a period of time, maybe it's a month, maybe it's every 2 months, maybe it's once a quarter, I want you to constantly adjust that budget to perfection. Notice I didn't say minimize. You may need to loosen up the budget and go spend some. You may need to do that. Look, life is not about getting all we can, canning all we get, and sitting on our can. That is not what life's about. Money is so much more than that. Money is a tool that we can use to impact the world for good. You can. So I'd like for you to follow these 7 steps. Do me a favor. Let me know how it's going for you. One of the things we're getting ready to launch out is we're going to actually have a budget template that you're going to be able to download from Financially Simple. Stay tuned to the YouTube video. Stay tuned to my Twitter, my Facebook, LinkedIn. If you're not subscribed or following me on those things, let me know. Go ahead and just sign up on there. If you haven't received the newsletters on financiallysimple.com, we'll actually have a template budget that'll help you think about where your life is going. If you can track your budget, friends, you can succeed at this thing called finance. So that's it for today's episode. I'd like to tell you, like I always say, life is hard. Budgets, they can be frustrating, but budgets are good. They actually have a place. They don't have to be frustrating, though. Life doesn't have to be frustrating. Money, man, it does not have to be frustrating. Let's continue to make our lives at least financially simple. Y'all go out and make it a great day.
You've been listening to the Financially Simple Podcast. For more business and personal financial help and information, head over to financiallysimple.com today.